Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya cha dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We are studying Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna has given us number of spiritual instructions for conducting spiritual life. It's only through spiritual life one can realize God. Today's topic I have chosen from the Gospel. 3 components of spiritual life. Very important, and we should know about these components. We should allow ourselves to be tested by God. The 3 components of spiritual life are Pariksha, Samiksha and Pratiksha. These 3 are very important. If we pass through all these 3 components, we get success. One is Pariksha, which is well known to us. All of us have gone through number of parikshas in our life. Academically and in life also. The true pariksha is not simply passing a test given by somebody. It is when you start taking your own test. It is when you start taking your own photo with the camera of your own heart. It is when you start checking yourself all the time, checking your volume, checking your actions, checking your thoughts, checking your eyes and ears. There is a term called Kaya Vacha Manasa. Body, mind and senses. We must not simply rely on others to take our test in life. Sometimes we can fool others, but we can never fool God, and we can never fool our Guru. So the true pariksha is when you start watching yourself, knowing that God and Guru are always watching you. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, just imagine Hanuman's state, his state of mind. Hanuman, great character. In fact, Sri Ramchandra had blessed him and declared that he would be the next Brahma in the next creation. Brahma is a position. Very great character Hanuman. If you read Ramayana, you will know more about him. He didn't care for money. He did not care for honor, creature comforts, or anything else. He longed only for God. And his God was Sri Ramchandra. He wanted to see him all the time, in all circumstances. When he was running away with the heavenly weapon that had been secreted in the crystal pillar, there's a story like that. Mandodari, the wife of Ravan, became very anxious. She never wanted that heavenly weapon to be taken away. It was most precious because that is the life of Ravan. So, how to distract the mind of Hanuman, who has already taken the weapon in his hands and is about to run away. So Mandodari began to tempt him with various fruits so that he might come down and drop the weapon. Monkeys are fond of fruits. She thought Hanuman was like any other monkey. But Hanuman could not be tricked so easily. In reply to her persuasions, he sang this song. All these things are in Gospel. Am I in need of fruit? I have the fruit that makes this life fruitful indeed. Within my heart, the tree of Rama grows, bearing salvation for its fruit. Under the wish-fulfilling tree of Rama do I sit at ease, plucking whatever fruit I will. But if you speak of fruit, no beggar I for common fruit. Behold, I go, leaving a bitter fruit for you. Sri Ramakrishna says again in the Gospel, there was a man who knew 82 postures and talked big about Yoga Samadhi. But inwardly, he was drawn to lust and gold. His heart was corrupt. But outwardly, he is talking big philosophy. Once, that man found a banknote worth several thousand rupees. He could not resist the temptation and swallowed it, thinking he would get it out somehow later on. The note was got out of him all right, but he was sent to jail for 3 years. Mahendrapal of Siddhi once gave Ramlal 5 rupees. Ramlal told me, Sri Ramakrishna says, Ramlal told me about it after he had gone. I asked him what the gift was for. And Ramlal said that it was meant for me. I thought it might enable me to pay off some of my debt for milk. That night I went to bed, and if you believe me, I suddenly woke up with a pain. I felt as if a cat was scratching inside my chest. I at once went to Ramlal and asked him, Ramlal, for whom did Mahendra give this money? Was it for your auntie? Referring to Holy Mother. No, sir, Ramlal said. It is meant for you. Then I said to him, go and return the money at once, or I shall have no peace of mind. Ramlal returned the money early in the morning, and I felt relieved. Here we see how Sri Ramakrishna, passing the test of renouncing temptation. Test will come to every one of us. If you watch every moment of your life, you will know how many tests God is giving us, but we are not able to pass those tests or serious about them. Another test, I am dealing under the topic Pariksha, the first component of spiritual life. Sri Ramakrishna fulfills all these 3 components. Sri Ramakrishna said to devotees, I passed through the state of dasya, the attitude of the servant towards his master. I used to weep so bitterly with the name of the Divine Mother that people would stand in a row watching me. When I was passing through that state, someone, in order to test me and also to cure my madness, they thought I am mad. So what they did? They brought a prostitute into my room. It's in the Gospel. Sri Ramakrishna says, she was beautiful to look at, with pretty eyes. I cried, oh mother, and rushed out of the room. I ran to Haldari and said to him, brother, come and see who has entered my room. I told Haldari and everyone else about this woman. While in that state I used to weep with the name of the Mother on my lips. Weeping, I said to her, oh Mother, please protect me. Please make me stainless. Please see that my mind is not diverted from the real to the unreal. When a man develops pure sattva, he thinks only of God. He does not enjoy anything else. Some are born with pure sattva as a result of their prarabdha karma. Through unselfish action, one finally acquires pure sattva. Sattva mixed with rajas diverts the mind to various objects. From it springs the conceit of doing good to the world. To do good to the world is extremely difficult for such an insignificant creature as a man. But there is no harm in doing good to others in an unselfish spirit. This is called unselfish action. It is highly beneficial for a person to try to perform such action, but by no means all succeed. for it is very difficult. Everyone must work. Only one or two can renounce action. Rarely do you find a man who has developed pure sattva. Through disinterested action, sattva mixed with rajas gradually turns into pure sattva. No sooner does a man develop pure sattva than he realizes God through His grace. Again the Master said, once I visited Hridaya's house at Sihor. From there I was taken to Sham Bazar. I had a vision of Gauranga before I entered the village. And I realized that I should meet Gauranga's devotees there. For 7 days and nights I was surrounded by a huge crowd of people. Such attraction. Nothing but kirtan and dancing day and night. People stood in rows on the walls and even were on the trees. I stayed at Natwar Goswami's house. It was crowded day and night. In the morning, I would run away to the house of a weaver for a little rest. There too I found that people would gather after a few minutes. They carried drums and cymbals with them, and the drum constantly played takuti, takuti, takuti. When they play drum, it makes that sound. Sri Ramakrishna is imitating that sound. We would have our meal at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The rumor spread everywhere that a man had arrived who died 7 times, like that rumor spread. That means referring to the Master's Samadhi. Who died 7 times and came back to life again. Hridaya would drag me away from crowd to a paddy field for fear I might have an attack of heat apoplexy. The crowd would follow us there like a line of ants. Again the cymbals and the never-ending takuti takuti of the drums. Hridaya scolded them and said, "Why do you bother us like this? Have we never heard kirtan?" The Vaishnava priests of the village came and almost started a quarrel. They thought, Sri Ramakrishna said, I would take their share of the fees from the devotees. But soon they discovered that I did not touch a piece of cloth or even a thread. Someone remarked that I was a Brahmagyani. So the Vaishnava Pandits wanted to test me. One said, why hasn't he beads and a mark on his forehead? Another of them replied, they have dropped from him as a dry branch from a coconut tree. It was there that I learnt this illustration of the dry branch of a coconut tree. That means the upadhis, limitations, drop away when one attains knowledge. So that is pariksha, first component. One more incident I will tell you, then I go to the next component. There was a famous saint in Karnataka. He had 3 very close disciples. He was watching their spiritual development. Now he wanted to test them. So he called them. Well, look here. Now I am giving you a test. To each of you I will give an apple. You must go from here eat the apple without being seen by anyone, and then return as quickly as possible. He who returns first will be my successor. But be sure that none can see you. The 3 disciples were each given their apple, and they went off in 3 separate directions. After a few hours, one disciple returned. Guruji, I went to the top of the highest mountain, and there I ate my apple. Even the birds could not fly as high as this mountain. Therefore, there was nobody who could watch me. The Guru simply nodded in silence. He didn't make any remarks. In the evening, second disciple returned. There were 3 disciples. He returned breathless. Master, I went to the deepest, darkest cave in the mountainside. There I crawled into the darkness and ate my apple unseen by any being. Again the Guru simply nodded but said nothing. The night passed, as did the following day, but still the third disciple did not return. Finally, on the afternoon of the 4th day, the disciple returned slowly with his head down. Sir, I have failed you. I climbed mountains. I swam in the rivers. I crawled into the trunk of trees and into deep pits in the ground. But everywhere I went, God's eyes were watching me. There was nowhere I could escape His gaze. So I could not eat the apple unseen. The Guru said, my child, you are the one who shall be my successor. For you are the only one who understands the true nature of God and His omniscience. So, the lesson is, when we realize that God is always watching us, then we will never go astray. That is true pariksha, which is the first component of the spiritual life. Now, second component, which is also equally important to know, samiksha. That is thorough investigation. We must investigate thoroughly about things. Sri Ramakrishna said, by meditating on God in solitude, what happens? The mind acquires knowledge, dispassion and devotion. But the very same mind goes downward if it dwells in the world. In the world, there is only one thought, namely lust and gold. Somebody, an American devotee, a great devotee, she used to visit Institute of Culture, Gold Park, Calcutta, when I was there. Very great devotee, initiated disciple. She would not go anywhere. She would stay in the Institute of Culture and would go to Belur Math. That's all. Nowhere else she would go. No sightseeing, no distraction, anything. Once she was talking to me, Swamiji, What is there in America? Only sex, 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 sex. Like this he said. People are running after sex, mad after sex, sex and money. This is said by American lady. And she is telling sincerely. In fact, when she came to know that I was transferred to Chicago, she was the lady who came and gave me $25. Swami, please have this. You may need it when you go there. I was so much moved. I shed tears. So, that is what Sri Ramakrishna said. What is there in this world? Nothing but lust and gold. The world is water and the milk and the mind milk. World is water, mind is the milk. If you pour milk into water, they become one. You can't find the pure milk anymore. But turn the milk into curd and churn it into butter, then when that butter is placed in water, it will float. So, practice spiritual discipline in solitude and obtain the butter of knowledge and love. Even if you keep that butter in the water of the world, the two will not mix. The butter will float. How nicely Sri Ramakrishna investigates and gives us the lesson. Together with this, you must practice discrimination, which are lust and gold is impermanent. God is the only eternal substance. What does a man set with money? Food, clothes, and a dwelling place, nothing more. You can't realize God with its help. Therefore, money can never be the goal of life. That is the process of discrimination. Discrimination about objects. Consider what is there in money or in a beautiful body. Discriminate, and you will find that even the body of a beautiful person consists of bones, flesh, fat, and other disagreeable things. Why should a man give up God and direct his attention to such things? Why should a man forget God for their sake? We must constantly analyze and reanalyze ourselves. We must never become complacent. At the end of the day, a good businessman always checks his balance sheet. How much has he made? How much has he spent? Similarly, a good teacher reviews his students' test scores. How many passed? How many failed? By looking at their successes and failures, they assess how well they are doing. Are the businessman's profits greater than his losses? Are most of the teachers' students passing the exams? In the same way, each night we must examine the balance sheet of our day. What were our successes? What were our failures? And for all the successes, all our plus points, we must give credit to God. For we have truly done nothing but let Him work through us. All credit goes to Him. He is the one who saves us. He is the one who maintains our dignity and our success. It is only by His grace that our eyes can see the work in front of us, that our hands can perform the necessary tasks, that our brains can understand instructions, that our mouths can speak. So, we must never become arrogant. We must never think that it is we who have accomplished something. It is only His grace working through us. Our failures we must also give to Him. The fault is ours definitely, yet He is so forgiving and so compassionate that He insists we turn these over to Him as well. We must say, "O God, please take these minus points. You know that I am weak. You know that I am nothing. Please make me stronger tomorrow." In this way, each night we check our balance sheet and we pray God to help us have fewer minus points, to make us stronger, to make us better hands doing His work, to give us more faith, more devotion. Sri Ramakrishna said, Shankara's non-dualistic explanation of Vedanta is true, and so is the qualified non-dualistic interpretation of Ramanuj. Narendranath asked a question. What is qualified non-dualism? Sri Ramakrishna said, it is the theory of Ramanuj. According to this theory, Brahman, or the Absolute, is qualified by the universe and its living beings. These three, Brahman, the world, and living beings, together constitute one. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of the bell fruit. A man wanted to know the weight of the fruit. He separated the shell, the flesh, and the seeds. But can a man get the weight by weighing only the flesh? He must weigh flesh, shell, seeds together. At first it appears that the real thing in the fruit is the flesh and not its seeds or shell. Then by reasoning you find that shell, seeds and flesh all belong to the fruit. The shell and seeds belong to the same thing that the flesh belongs to. Likewise, in spiritual discrimination, one must first reason following the method of not this, neti, neti. God is not the universe, God is not the living beings. Brahman alone is real and all else is unreal. Then one realizes, as with the bell fruit, that the reality from which we derive the notion of Brahman is the very reality that evolves the idea of living beings and the universe. So, the Nitya and the Leela are the two aspects of one and the same reality. Therefore, according to Ramanuj, Brahman is qualified by the universe and the living beings. This is the theory of qualified non-dualism. Then Sri Ramakrishna said to Yam, I do see God directly. What shall I reason about? I clearly see that He Himself has become everything. That's what the Upanishads also says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman only. God, world as Brahman is real. World minus Brahman is unreal. That's the point. That He Himself has become the universe and all living beings. It is said in the Upanishad, when He created the universe, as and when He created, He filled up with His consciousness. That's how the whole world began to live, began to activate. It began to activate because of the indwelling consciousness of the Divine Supreme. Recently I read in the internet news, some scientist is projecting the theory, intelligent design. There's a great debate going on. And he says, for this intelligent design, there must be a designer. And who is that designer? There's a question. Same way the Bang theorem, Bang theory, Big Bang. They say, the scientists, who created that? That question remains. Anyway, but without awakening one's own inner consciousness, one cannot realize the all-pervading consciousness. How long does a man reason? So long as he has not realized God. But mere words will not do. As for myself, I clearly see that He Himself has become everything. The inner consciousness must be awakened, through the grace of God. Through this awakening, a man goes into samadhi. He often forgets that he has a body, he gets rid of his attachment to lust and gold, and does not enjoy any talk unless it is about God. Worldly talk gives him pain. Through the awakening of the inner consciousness, one realizes the all-pervading consciousness. The discussion came to a close. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, I have observed that a man acquires one kind of knowledge about God through reasoning and another kind through meditation. But he acquires a third kind of knowledge about God when God reveals himself to him, his devotee. If God himself reveals to his devotee the nature of divine incarnation, how he plays in human form, then the devotee doesn't have to reason about the problem or need an explanation. Do you know what it is like? Suppose a man is in a dark room. He goes on rubbing a match against a matchbox. And all of a sudden light comes. Likewise, if God gives us this flash of divine light, all our doubts are destroyed. Can one ever know God by mere reasoning? So, a true spiritual seeker always introspects frequently and always strives to be better the next day. So that investigating faculty must be thoroughly used. That is called samiksha. Pratiksha, samiksha. Now the third one is, the first one is pariksha, second one is samiksha. Now the third one is pratiksha. Pratiksha means waiting. Waiting. How long should I have to wait? Still I have not been able to realize God. How many births I have to take? What is the way? So, in spiritual life, the teachers always say, we must have patience. We must patiently wait. Sri Ramakrishna said, at the time of the installation of Annapurna at Chanak, I said to Dwarika Babu, large fish live in the deep water of a big lake. Throw some spiced bait into the water. Then the fish will come, attracted by its smell. Now and then they will make the water splash. Devotion and ecstatic love are like the spiced bait. You must fix the bait and keep waiting. He who is fond of fishing and wishes to be informed if good fish abound in a certain pond, goes to those persons who have already fished in it and eagerly asks them, is it true that there are big fish in this pond? And what is the most suitable bait to catch them? Having gathered the necessary information from them, he resorts to the pond with his fishing rod, waits there patiently after throwing his line, and allures the fish with dexterity. At last he succeeds in hooking a large and beautiful dweller of the deep. Similarly, with implicit trust in the sayings of holy saints and sages, one must try to secure God in one's own heart with the bait of devotion and the rod and hook of one's mind. With unceasing patience, one must wait for the fullness of time. Then only can one catch the divine fish. One must always wait. We must do our sadhana, perform our duties, and then wait for the grace of God to shine upon us. Sometimes we hear people say, but when will He bless me with a vision of Him? Or, I have been doing sadhana for so long and still my mind is restless. There is no set rule to how quickly one attains the state of spiritual bliss. This is called God's plan. Patience, patience and patience. We must cultivate this in our sadhana. However, one thing is certain. His grace will come. His grace and blessings will be bestowed upon those who dedicate their lives to Him. This is definite. These are Sri Ramakrishna's words. Only the time and the way are in His hands. So, we must just keep doing our sadhana. Keep surrendering our lives to Him. Stay humble and pure. And we must have faith that in the right time the shower of grace will fall upon us. Master said, you are merchants. You know how to improve your business gradually. Some of you start with castor oil factory. After making some money at that, you open a cloth shop. In the same way, one makes progress towards God. It may be that you go into solitude now and then and devote more time to prayer. But you must remember that nothing can be achieved except in its proper time. Some persons must pass through many experiences and perform many worldly duties before they can turn their attention to God. So they have to wait a long time. If an abscess is lanced before it is soft, the result is not good. The surgeon makes the opening when it is soft and has become to a head. When it is soft and has come to a head. Once a child said to its mother, "Mother, I am going to sleep now. Please wake me up when I feel the call of nature." "My child," said the mother, "when it is time for that, you will wake up yourself. I shall not have to wake you. I shall not have to wake you." So Brahmanji said, Brahmanji said, you practice meditation and japam. You progress a little. Then comes a period of dryness. It seems that the doors are entirely closed. At that time it is necessary that you stick to your spiritual practices with infinite patience. By so doing, you will find one day that all of a sudden the doors are opened. What a great joy it is then. In spiritual life, many such thresholds have to be crossed. In Eternal Companion, Swami Brahmanji said this. Have patience, infinite patience, until you reach the reality. In the primary stage, meditation is tiresome. It is like learning the alphabet. Gradually peace comes. There are boys who, after they have been initiated, complain to me that they are not getting anywhere. I do not listen to them for 2 or 3 years. Then later they come and tell me, "Yes, Maharaj, I am getting somewhere now." Do not be impatient. Struggle intensely for 2 or 3 years and your heart will be flooded with joy. If you wish to realize God, practice the spiritual disciplines with patience and perseverance. In due course, you will be enlightened. When the time comes, the Lord will reveal His grace to you. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, until the time is ripe, the mother bird doesn't break open the egg. Do not be impatient. Impatience avails nothing. Work and wait. This period of waiting is no doubt very wearisome. One moment you feel hope, then again despair. Joy is followed by sorrow. So the struggle continues for some time until God at last is revealed. Swami Chidananda said, you must have faith and patience. You have to be persistently up and doing. What will you gain by dejection and mourning just because you can't achieve anything with little effort? The mind that has remained scattered so long has to be gradually gathered together with patience and then fixed at the feet of God. You must all show some patience. Pray ardently to the Master. He is having an eye on His work everywhere. No doubt a sort of bad time has set in. Know that this too will be for some future good. None of you should get perturbed. All the danger will pass away. Swami Premanji said, The tree does not bear fruits except at the right season. Nothing is gained by impatience. Why should you fear? Do not be disheartened by the thought that you have not attained your goal. Considerable patience is required. Without patience, no one can walk in the spiritual path. Swami Adbhutanji said, don't fear, for someday the grace of the Lord will come to you. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, before evening you will receive a leaf plate. Have patience and wait. Leaf plate for dinner, for food. Swami Ramakrishna said, we should all strike our fetters. But have you ever seen a fetter taken off with a single and sudden blow? If you want to break through your fetters, you must be patient enough to apply a series of successive blows. Nothing sudden has brought about good. So, pratiksha. Remarkable patience you must have. Keep doing what you should do. Leave the result to God. That's the meaning. That's the meaning of Lord Krishna's message in the Gita. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu. God will definitely give you phala. But He will give you. Keep on waiting. Keep on doing spiritual practices. Finally, you will reach the goal. So, pariksha, samiksha, pratiksha. These are the three components of spiritual life. Let us understand them and follow them in our life. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions to ask? Page 954. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. Sri Ramakrishna sat on his bed. Yes, few devotees sat on the floor in front of him. Surendra arrived from his office. He carried in his hands 4 oranges and 2 garlands of flowers. Now he looked at the master and now at the devotees. He unburdened his heart to Sri Ramakrishna. Surendra, looking at Yam and the others, Surendra said, I have come after finishing my office work. I thought, what's the good of standing on 2 boats at the same time? So, I finished my duties first and then came here. Today is the first day of the year. It is also Tuesday, an auspicious day to worship the Divine Mother. But I didn't go to Kalighat. I said to myself, it will be enough if I see him who is Kali herself and who has rightly understood Kali. Sri Ramakrishna smiled. Surendra said, it is said that a man should bring fruit and flowers when visiting his guru or a holy man. So I have brought these. To the master, he said, I am spending all this money for you. God alone knows my heart. Some people feel grieved to give away a penny. And there are people who spend 1,000 rupees without feeling any hesitation. God sees the inner love of a devotee and accepts his offering. Sri Ramakrishna said to Surendra by a nod that he was right. Surendra said, I couldn't come here yesterday. It was the last day of the year, but I decorated your picture with flowers. Sri Ramakrishna said to him by a sign, oh, what a devotion. Surendra said, as I was coming here, I brought these 2 garlands for 4 annas. Almost all the devotees took their leave. The master asked Yam to stroke his legs and fan him. The moon was shining brilliantly, flooding the garden paths, the trees and the water of the lake with his white rays. Girish, Yam, Latu and a few other devotees were seated on the steps leading to the lake. The house stood to the west of the lake. A lamp burnt in the master's room on the 2nd floor. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on his bed. There were several devotees in the room. A few minutes later, Girish and Yam was strolling along a garden path lined with flowering plants and fruit trees. Yam said, "How beautiful this moonlight is. Perhaps nature has had the same laws from time out of mind." Girish said, "How do you know that?" Yam said, "There is no change in the uniformity of nature. European scientists have been discovering new stars through the telescope. There are mountains on the moon. They have seen them." Girish said, "It is difficult to be sure of that. It is hard for me to believe it." Yam said, "Why?" The mountains have been observed through the telescope." Girish said, "How can you be sure that they have been rightly observed? Suppose there are other things between the moon and the earth. Light passing through them, many conjure up such visions." Narendra, Rakhal, Niranjan, Sharat, Shashi, Baburam, Kali, Jogin, Latu and a few other young devotees had been living at the Kosipur Garden House in order to nurse Sri Ramakrishna. That evening, Narendra, Kali and Tarak had gone to Dakshineshwar. They were going to spend the night in the Panchavati meditating on God. Girish, Latu and M went to Sri Ramakrishna's room and found him sitting on the bed. Shashi and one or two devotees had been tending the master. Babaram, Niranjan and Rakhal had entered the room. It was a large room. Some medicines and a few other accessories were kept near the bed. One entered the room by a door at the north end. Since Sri Ramakrishna had to be tended all night, the devotees stayed awake by turns. The devotee who tended him fixed Sri Ramakrishna's mosquito net and then either lay on a mat on the floor or spent the night sitting up. Since Sri Ramakrishna got very little sleep on account of his illness, his attendant too slept very little. That evening Sri Ramakrishna was somewhat better. The devotees saluted the master and sat down on the floor. The master asked Yam to bring the lamp near him. He greeted Girish cordially. Master said to Girish, "Are you quite well?" To Latu, he said, "Prepare a smoke for him and give me a bitter leaf." A few minutes afterwards, he asked Latu to give Girish some refreshments. Latu said that they had been sent for. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting up. A devotee offered him some garlands of flowers. Sri Ramakrishna put them around his neck one by one. Was it thus worshipping God who dwelt in his heart? The devotees looked at him wonderingly. He took 2 garlands from his neck and gave them to Girish. Every now and then Sri Ramakrishna asked whether the refreshments had been brought. M was fanning the master. On the bed was a sandalwood fan, the offering of a devotee. The master gave it to M, who continued to fan him with it. He also gave M 2 garlands. M had lost a son, aged 7 or 8, about a year and a half before. The child had seen the master many a time. Latu was telling Sri Ramakrishna about Yam. Latu said, "Yam wept bitterly last night at the sight of some books that had belonged to his dead child. His wife is almost mad with grief. She sometimes treats her other children violently. She creates a scene at home because he spends the night here now and then." Sri Ramakrishna seemed worried to hear of this. Girish said, "It is nothing to be wondered at. Even after receiving the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjun fainted from grief at the death of his son Abhimanyu." Girish was given the refreshments on a tray. Sri Ramakrishna took a grain and Girish accepted the rest as prasad. He sat in front of the master and began to eat. He needed water to drink. There was an earthen jug in the southeast corner of the room. It was the month of April and the day was hot. Sri Ramakrishna said, "There is some nice water here." We shall stop here. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, down deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bath for various souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no order to thyself, give honor to all, chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and Soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame, as many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day, when the instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns with his desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewaring the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from the darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good be at all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased, he being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.